Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
It's Tuesday, October 26th, 2021, and it is now 6:04. We're in the Town Hall Lower Theater. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we need to approve the minutes of Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. Thank you. Discussion on the minutes. Does anyone have anything? Okay.
Are we supposed to identify typos or is that not a big deal?
They're not really a big deal unless it's your name and you feel offended. So, but I mean, you can point them out.
All right. So under the manager's report, it says dedication was help. Second bullet down.
Oh yeah.
You see that?
Wait.
First page.
I'm on the. No, I forgot. Remember, I already read them. These are the wrong ones.
Oh, you don't have them.
No. Jigs has them.
So it says the Fireman's Memorial Park is complete and the dedication was help.
Oh, instead of held. Yeah.
So held. I'm assuming that should be
A D.
Does yours say held or help?
It says help.
Okay. And then on the next page, under school zone safety ordinance, section 6, it says, I think it's supposed to say she and not he, where it says questions, second sentence
Oh.
regarding you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm not offended, but it's
Oh, okay. So that's all I had.
okay. Anything else?
Nothing major.
Okay. All those in favor of the minutes as commented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and/or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting. Didn't you have something, Scott? We need to add.
Copies, it's in the agenda, but I gave you copies of the updated debt and borrowing schedule, which
Okay.
we're going to be looking at tonight, but it's been listed as an
It's
agenda
number 8.
item.
I
So
see.
it's already been on the agenda.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. All right. Public comment on items. I see no one. Is there anyone who wanted to speak on anything? I don't see a hand back there. So I guess we're good. Okay, manager's report.
A couple of items. First of all, the auditors are coming, which is, sort of the cycle of life. So they're coming mid-November. We're hopefully having them on site 15th and 16th of November. And normally I wouldn't announce that to the board, but I know after last year with us being up against the different town meetings and not having time to get everything reviewed properly, just wanted to give the board a heads up that we did get them scheduled in a more timely fashion here this year, and we're hopeful that we won't have a repeat of last year. So just wanted to give you a heads up to that. A couple of just updates of items that'll be impacting sort of the downtown and just in general. The first thing is currently the Bellows Falls Garage project. I don't know if anybody reads public notices in the newspaper because it's, a lot of fun if you do.
Yeah.
But if you do, you might have noticed that it's currently out to bid again. The bids are due back this month. The goal, I think, if they have a positive response, that they'll start construction sometime in December of 21. They're estimating 15 months of construction. So that puts you out to roughly March of 23 before that project is ready for occupancy, just to give you some sense of timing and how it might start impacting people down on Canal Street and our parking, just in general in the downtown. As an overlap to that, I reached out to VHB, who is working with the state of Vermont on the bridge project at Depot Street, just to make sure that we're coordinating as closely as we can, because it's obviously difficult to have two major projects like that going on at the same time, almost on top of each other. An update from that engineer, they're still doing plan design. based on the email he sent me this week, they're not going to actually start any kind of construction until the spring of 2025.
Oh, okay.
So they have pushed this out another, from the last time we talked about this, another 18 to 24 months. So in some ways, that's okay, because it sort of gets us out of the window of overlapping
Yeah.
projects. In other ways, it's a little bit of a concern, because that's significantly longer than what was anticipated, but be that as it may, that's the schedule. So
By that time, we'll be working on the Bridge Street Bridge.
it potentially could be in that same overlap. So just as an update, we'll see how those go, but I wanted to at least give you updates on those.
I think Canal Street would be happier for not having two projects going on at the same time.
I think it'd be really difficult to try to do both of those at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Anything else? Okay. All right. On our agenda, number 1, update on the sludge dryer options, draft approval from the state of Vermont.
So I included in your packet some information, and I don't normally do this, but I wanted to give you this information just because we're still going through final approval. This is only a draft approval. As we talked about earlier, we still have to go through some temperature testing, which we're working with the state on. And then at that point, the regulatory folks have said they wanted to come down one last time and visit the site. And if we meet all of their criteria, which you could see, I've listed it, I just wanted to give you some of the temperature, what they're trying to achieve with the product.
Right.
Then we'll have a full approval for Class A for not only New Hampshire, which we already have, but also then for Vermont. So that'll open up other opportunities for us for this material for distribution. Somewhat important because, as we've talked about with decision points, there's been a change, as we discussed, with the relationship with Cincy and with RMI. Speaking to RMI after our last discussion at this board, they're willing to continue with the 50% of the monthly contract cost being applied to purchase up through the end of December. And Cincy is still working on updated cost proposals for 2 processes now for us. First of all, for a new unit, and then secondarily, we had asked for all of the stainless steel components that could potentially be updated. We got a proposal back from Cincy yesterday, and they did not have the full stainless proposal, and he has still not completed his other proposal. So I couldn't bring those to you tonight. They're still not complete. I'll have them for you at your next meeting so we can contemplate where those numbers are at, and it still gives us time to make a decision sometime either in November or first meeting in December, so we can meet whatever decision we want to make before the end of the year, because I don't think we want to continue paying on the machine and not having that then being applied to a purchase. So we have a little bit more room to get all of these numbers back and then have a chance to meet, go through it, and then make a decision on how we want to go forward. So
When is the state planning to visit, or haven't they told you yet?
they are doing more of the temperature testing with a new probe next week. Rob will send them that data, and then they possibly might come down, since it's the short week, either that first week in potentially in November or the week after the Veterans Day holiday. So it's still up in the air.
So we're talking about an extension of the RMI contract to December,
Right now, we're going month to month.
Okay.
month to month.
But
they
the
didn't
latest
want-
we'll go is till December, with us still getting 50% of the monthly payment applied towards the purchase,
But it's the purchase of that piece of equipment.
that machine.
Right.
Because that's the one they own.
Do you know what the purchase price will be? I mean, we've been paying on this now for a year. We will have been paying.
Right. So if we go forward, I think we'll have basically accrued 16 payments at roughly $5,000. So we'll have almost 90,000 into that machine. And I think it's going to be close to 400,000 when it's all said and done
For that machine.
to buy that machine.
I thought it was 300 something.
Well, that's when you take off the credit.
Take off the credit. That
Oh.
was the estimate. Okay.
So we'll be in
Because I
that
thought we got a quote from Cincy of
400.
400,000 for a stainless steel unit.
400,000 was to buy another unit.
Oh, not a
So-
stainless steel unit.
No, we're still waiting on the upgrade cost, and then they're going to
Right.
give us a second proposal on a smaller unit, which would replace the one we currently have. Because he thinks, the
Smaller?
Cincy USA people seem to think that we can process the same amount of material with a smaller unit, which I'm not sure of. He's coming to meet with Rob on Friday, so I really need more
Figure out how that
information.
works. Yeah.
Not real thrilled about going back and starting over on any kind of replacement unit. So at this point, I think that's too many unknowns to make that recommendation to you for a new, smaller machine. But he wants to come. We're going to sit down. We'll listen to his spiel and conversation, and then we'll have hopefully have all of that updated for you for your next meeting.
And you're going to ask him about providing the financing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest concern I have with any of these machines is a performance bond, that if we do purchase it, we need to have some protection, I would think, for some period of time to make that investment. I mean, no investment like that is risk-free, but certainly there's a lot of risk in this whole process.
Yeah, the problem with that is that with RMI's relationship really terminated with Cincy or whatever. You know, I don't know where you get a performance bond. You know, and I don't know who would write the performance bond. I mean, dealing with the manufacturer with a performance guarantee or whatever would have some value. But like I say, I don't know how you could get a performance bond on the existing unit unless it was through Cincy.
I don't know, because I think that's one of the concerns. The other problem is, obviously, let's say we decide to buy a machine for whatever reason, and then with all of these supply chain issues, we have a problem, and now we're going a year to a year and a half potentially till we get something from overseas. We have a major problem. You know, we were talking. It's crazy, the supply disruption at the moment, but we've been talking about just buying pickup trucks, simple things that are manufactured domestically, and they're giving us 14 to 18 month windows if you buy now, today, which is hard for me to fathom. These are standard, you know, these are not specialty items, right? These are mass produced. So these are concerns that we're going to have to get into in greater detail, but just wanted to give you that update because I know we've been trying to move this to a decision point. So
Anything further from the board? Scott? Okay. All right, guess we'll hear more next month.
Yep.
Item number 2 is for me to update the trustees on the Bellows Falls Middle School silo usage. I spoke to them. I did get an answer a couple of weeks ago, that they are still in use. It's still in use for pellets, wood pellets, which someone thought they were under the impression that they were no longer using it. But I was told by the principal that it's still in use.
Okay.
So
Well, that's good to hear.
it's good to hear that they're using it. It was an idea of an option for us
Right.
to use to store our pellets in
Yeah.
of a different sort. So I guess we're back to the drawing table to think about what other options might there be for storage of that material.
yeah, we've met with a few people that handle, you know, sort of farm materials and looking at silo, you know, types. So
Yeah.
we're hoping to have some of that information for you as well, because that's part of this overall discussion and decision.
Okay, so that does that. Next item is to review the rental program inspection checklist. It has been done. We have a copy in our packet. It was an error in the first place that thankfully Wade's caught, and we have now already corrected. You have that page, Wade, so you see that. The kitchen detection, smoke detectors are now out of the kitchen.
Because
No,
this,
it's
the
still in
draft I got, it's in there.
Still in there.
Supposed to be out of there.
Third item down on
Why
the right.
didn't they take it out?
It'll be removed. So
Okay, so we have the same sheet that we had before.
just want to see if there's any other comments or any other changes. So I will make sure that that's out of the final.
My apologies, I thought I received a corrected sheet and didn't look at it.
No, it's the,
Well, that was pointless. But it was done in error. It wasn't supposed to be in there. Yes, they know they're supposed to be outside of the kitchen. That was, Sean said that should never have been put on, but it just somehow it got
Yeah.
overlooked. So,
No, okay.
so just from a scheduling standpoint, if there's no other additions to this, we have not gotten any feedback from our state folks. So
Okay.
at this point, I'm assuming if you want to go forward, we can schedule it at least for some follow-up in November? Is that what
you're
you
talking
would-
about the inspection ordinance itself?
the ordinance
Right.
itself?
Well, I remember giving the trustees the month to come back with
Right.
comments and any, feedback they want to enter on that. We have one, that's one right there, and we're
Right.
definitely gonna take care of that. But I think we have till the middle of next month to deal with it, I believe. Yeah,
Yep.
So
So if there is any comments, please, we'll try to get them so that we can.
forward them so we can compile them.
Yes.
Next item is the national opioid settlement and participation. We have material in our packet. I guess Scott's going to address that.
So this is beginning of, I'm not sure what the long-term payout will be for small governments and local jurisdictions, but this is part of this national conversation. I'm sure you've been following. Various attorney generals have been weighing in on whether or not they're going to participate. In our case, it's been recommended Vermont is going to be one of the ones that is participating. So there has been some set aside. This will be a class action process. So depending upon how many people do sign up and then certify, there'll be some distribution to local governments based on this proposed settlement. All we're asking at this point is if you want to participate, I will go on to the website and make sure that we are at least registered as a party so that as this goes forward, we're eligible for whatever distribution might come out of these earmarks that you can see. And while they look impressive, those funds are being distributed over the entire country, multiple, there's going to be lots of bites of that apple. So I'm not quite sure how much money is actually going to flow when all is said and done. But if you do want to participate, we at least need to start at this point.
What's the board's pleasure if we want him to keep moving forward? We probably a motion, yes, that we want you to continue.
That'd probably be
That'd be
preferred, so we
preferable.
have it on the record,
So would
yes.
someone like to make a motion to that effect, or not?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for conversation. Make the motion that the Belleville Village Corporation authorize the village manager, municipal manager to move forward with the process, reference to the national opioid settlement as presented here and highlighted in the general document.
Need a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion. Who has commentary? You?
We've talked about it for a while. Scott's right. A lot of people taking bites of the apple, or potentially they could. So it may or may not be worth our while. I'd leave that up probably to a little bit more fact finding, and then because it doesn't hurt to move forward at this time. We can always change our minds later. But it all depends if you want to make a point also.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Anyone else have comment on that? Okay. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? None, okay. So you have direction, Scott, thank you.
Yep.
Next item is the Vilas Bridge 2023 to 32, New Hampshire. I don't remember what TIP stands for.
Transportation Improvement Plan.
Thank you. Resolution.
It wouldn't be government
too
if we
many
didn't
acronyms,
have
man.
acronyms, right?
I
didn't
You should know that. You're in transportation.
Transportation
Improvement Plan.
Improvement
Okay,
plan.
I didn't know
Okay.
either.
Tip.
Okay,
Yeah, they love these things. It never ends.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And they get to talk about it every 2 years, so.
So there is some nuance to this that I think is important just to bring to your attention, because we have been working on trying to format our conversations with our federal officials so that we might be in a better position to actually get the monies that we're seeking. So as Gary has been working with some of our representatives, our Senate folks and our House delegates, one of the things that came out of those conversations was, we're used to traditional funding formulas where, there's a percentage share, especially on Connecticut River projects, right, that the states share by the percentage of the bridge that's in their physical boundary. So when we talk to them about doing a 50-50 share on the Vilas Bridge, it tends to get shut down just from the standpoint of it doesn't fit that traditional funding
Of course it
mode,
doesn't. Yeah.
which sounds kind of silly, but it seems to be part of the problem. So trying to fix that problem with the understanding that New Hampshire still has not provided enough funds to pay for the portion of their bridge rehabilitation at the traditional 93% New Hampshire, and then it should not be 73%. That's a typo. It's 7%, obviously, Vermont. We're going to request that you follow these resolutions so that we can be on the record in the tip for both New Hampshire, and then we're going to do the same thing for Vermont, that we can try to get the New Hampshire portion funded at that 93% level, and then try to get the balance funded in the Vermont tip when that comes back for the next round of authorization. This doesn't close us out of other funds, so we can still go back through and request earmarks like we did the last spring. All this does is maybe try to fit us in the more traditional box with the federal folks, and maybe that might help us get the funding. What I'll point out, and maybe people at home might be curious as to some of the numbers that we're talking about here, because they're fairly large. So the new number, which is a New Hampshire DOT number, not necessarily anything that the village has produced or anybody in the state of Vermont has produced, for replacing that bridge is currently $17,708,000.
Right.
So the last time we spoke of this, we were talking in the $10 to $12 million range. Obviously, they've done some additional work with deterioration as well as with the cost of materials and construction, and revamp those numbers, and you can see now it's substantially higher. So with that all being said, the resolution is to, again, authorize that breakdown within the tip, within that 93 New Hampshire, 7% Vermont breakdown, based on that new number of $17,708,681. That's a lot of numbers.
It is a lot of numbers, and there's a lot of numbers in the resolution too.
And there's a lot more in the resolution, because they also then break it down by various categories, because they get funded in different tranches.
Right.
But be that as it may, this is, I think, an approach that might be helpful to at least get us into the conversation about getting funded.
Is this the same thing that the town of Rockingham's already done?
This was also done in the town of Rockingham. So we're going to put in 2 comments.
Right. So supporting boards, basically.
Yes.
Does anyone want to read the resolution, or I'll read the resolution and you can say move? So whatever you want to do.
That sounds good.
That sounds good. Okay. Here's the resolution. The Village of Bellows Falls requests and authorizes VTrans to include in its state transportation improvement plan preliminary engineering in 2023 of $63,879. Right of way in 2026, $4,337. Construction in 2028, $1,171,392. And authorizes and requests the Vermont federal delegation to designate 80% of the Vermont share project cost and federal highway funds to VTrans specifically for the Vilas Bridge project. Secondly, the village, is this 2 separate resolutions?
You can do it as one.
We can do it as one. Okay, so let me finish then.
It's all
The Village of Bellows Falls requests that NHDOT include in its state transportation improvement plan preliminary engineering in 2023 of $848,676. Right-of-way in 2026, $57,624. Construction in 2028, $15,562,773. And authorizes and requests the Vermont federal delegation to designate 80% of the New Hampshire share of project cost in federal highway funds to New Hampshire DOT specifically for the Vilas Bridge project. Okay, now,
Second.
okay. Any further conversation on this item? All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No. Okay, here we go.
So as we were talking about bridges, just to put that in your calendar, because I know we all love to calendar things, that would be a 2028 construction.
2028
Just in
construction.
case, I know you guys are planning 2028, so just mark
Yeah.
that accordingly.
Yeah.
So just thought you'd want to get that in early. Well, get it in early because I don't want to, have other
Yeah,
concerns.
right.
So
Yeah, don't rush and plan something else for that
Yeah.
year, right?
I know. So we're talking 23, 25, and now 28.
Do you know what month that'll be?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what month it'll be?
I'll work on that.
Maybe let's give it around spring of 2028. Yeah.
I'd be happy in any month. If it started in any month, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. All right. Application for transient merchant permit, 113 Rockingham Street, and
So-
you have that before you.
So this is basically a request from the owner of PK's he wants to have a food truck outside selling some fried dough and
Fried
other
dough.
food truck type items on the 29th.
Okay. I need a motion to
Just a one-day thing?
Just a one-day.
Just
thing.
the
Where
29th.
do they put the truck? I mean,
It
Usually comes right in the front.
parking spot right by the Winter Housing Project.
Right.
Okay.
It'll be right close to that.
yeah,
Exactly.
okay, all right. I'll move to approve the request.
Second? All right. Any further comment? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You have your fried dough. Okay. Next item, 66 Atkinson Street update.
So since we last met, the town did authorize additional funds at the 66 Atkinson Street for two specific historic preservation objectives, one being the restoration, or at least the preservation of the current stained glass window, and then the potential preservation of the steeple. Since that meeting, we've had a host of discussions with specialty contractors for both of those projects. And they're both at the moment being challenged by, in the case of the stained glass window, there was discussion about whether or not it had been manufactured by a very specific, highly or well-known stained glass window manufacturer, and in fact, it's not an inventory from that manufacturer, so it has less value for resale. We have found that out today. And then the restoration cost potentially to restore it to the point where it would be able to be rehung somewhere in another building or reused is about $50,000 to $60,000.
I'd
So-
say that is at a minimum.
So my guess is that this might not move forward once the select board gets back into those numbers. On the steeple, it's been complicated by, there is a large amount of bird feces and bat feces in that steeple. And obviously you just can't take it down in its current condition. It has to be remediated. We don't have cost proposals for that yet, but it's not going to be cheap. So that original number, I think, of what they had proposed up to 20,000 only covered the cost of an operator coming with a crane and basically lifting it off the site and moving it to a new location.
Without remediation.
So remediation is going to add to that. My guess is it'll be a substantial number as well. And again, more than likely, probably have to go back to the select board, and I don't think at that point they're going to spend that kind of money.
So just for clarification, does the remediation have to happen anyway? Or
If it's being disposed of, my understanding is it's okay because they'll keep it and then they'll truck it away and they're going to just basically dispose of that material.
But not if it's relocated?
Not if it's relocated.
Okay. They wanted to put
the
it somewhere.
building with it there, but
Yeah.
they cannot.
Correct. Because
move
they
the
could,
structure unless they
Remediate
it.
first.
Right. Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so you think possibly both of these items will not happen at this point?
my guess is that those numbers are going to make that exorbitantly expensive and probably not going to happen. To be continued. So that'll be on their agenda for November the 3rd.
Right.
And I don't anticipate that, again, with those kind of numbers, I don't guess that they'll want to go forward at that kind of cost.
Jakes, you had something.
I just, when I heard about that vote, I thought it was an egregious action by the select board. As we all know from our meeting, the joint meeting in September, Elijah Zimmer came in with a proposal at the same time we were going to vote on demolishing the building. The proposal was not well thought out, not researched, no plans. The whole issue of what would you do with this stuff once it came down, and
Yeah.
the cost of that, which you've just talked about, Scott. I think that when I think of this quote project by the Historical Commission, I think of the recent addition of a fireman's park here in our village, and what the firemen did in order to build that.
Make that happen.
They went
yeah.
and raised funds. They put a lot of their own significant amount of their labor in that, and that's the way a project like this should be done. It should be done by raising funds from people that are interested in those two particular items. I can't believe that anybody would be really interested in them, but nevertheless, this should have been, if the select board chose to do this, it should have been based on the Historical Commission fundraising to do this. It wasn't. And remember, you know, I refer to it as Elijah's Folly because I've lived in this village. I was born and raised here a long time ago. For the last 65 years, I've watched the demise of that building. I've watched it go from an active, vital place to a place that deteriorated ownership that didn't want to invest in it, and then owners stripping all of the things that had meaning back in the 30s or 40s when it was a viable building. And what's left is what people couldn't carry away and strip away. So it really is a sad commentary of how the select board has chosen to use their fiduciary responsibilities, which the taxpayer funds. So again, I think it was a terrible decision. I hope when they review this again that they'll do the right thing this time. And if for some reason the Historical Commission can do fundraising in a very short time and spend that money to take these two things off of that building, fine. But to use our taxpayer funds, and certainly as a resident of Bellows Falls, we pay our full share of Rockingham taxes. It's just not appropriate.
Well, we're in a very limited window, so I'm not quite
Yeah.
sure how much we can accomplish between now and really December 1st, when we're going to turn that site over to the demolition contractor. And at that point, they're not going to want anybody else on site because he's
course not.
going to,
Too dangerous.
right.
Yeah.
So the window's short, so.
Wade, you had.
Yeah, that was my question was, because originally this was going to maybe be in November, but even if this did happen, it was going to push it out to December?
Correct. They agreed that they would not take any action on the site till December 1st, and they would still maintain the contract.
Statement, okay.
So that's really
So
where
they
we
have
are.
4 weeks, basically. That's all
Exactly,
they have.
yeah.
Roughly 5 weeks from now
Yeah.
to get that,
to have-
whatever's going to get taken
happen.
away or
They
picked.
need a sponsor first to come forward with money before they could just schedule that work being done.
Yeah, I think the numbers are escalating probably beyond where it's going to happen
Yeah.
realistically. But again, we'll have it on for the discussion on the 3rd and
Yeah.
see
Do you
where we
guys
go
have-
from there.
Yeah,
Oh.
I just wanted to comment that I agree the timeline is certainly been a problem as far as trying to make this happen. But to the select board's credit, I think that the vote was weighed heavily upon the Lamb Company being the maker and the probability of getting some significant dollars. So,
Right.
which I think may have
That's a new
influenced
piece of
some of that
information.
decision.
What
Wasn't
was that?
available.
I didn't get that, Jeff.
the maker of the stained glass window, had it been in the inventory,
Right.
auction records were showing that it was going to bring significant dollars up to $50,000, something like that, that would then go against the expense of the
Right.
removal of the item.
If it was
Oh,
a
I didn't
LAM,
hear
the acquisition,
LAMB window, then it had value as a,
And then you
Yeah.
found out,
Not a Tiffany, which would be
Right.
$250,000
yeah,
or
of
up
course.
versus
but that
50,000,
apparently in
so-
that stained glass world had some real residual value. This was not a LAM window,
it
so
isn't the LAMB, right?
no.
And I think they had resigned themselves to the fact that unless
Right.
money could be raised to pay for the removal and holding it in the town,
Yeah.
they had resigned themselves to the fact that if it's going to cost us $12,000 or whatever that amount was, $15,000 to remove it, but they could get 50,000, then it was a worthy
Effort. right?
effort
Yeah.
to save it. So.
But that turned out to be, as of you said, it was just today they discovered
Yeah, I
that
just
was the
talked to
case.
Walter this afternoon, so
Okay.
at this point, that's where we stand.
I spoke to a local antique dealer who I have a lot of respect for, and they indicated that, and they've been in this village for a long time, that the window might, some dealers in Boston that collect glass, colored the
Just the
stain,
glass
the
itself.
glass, the pieces of glass, that some of those dealers might be interested in some of the pieces of glass that are in the window. But other than
That's a far
that,
cry from a retain.
there was
Yeah.
nothing, no
The
value.
lead frame needs a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
going to be a difficult restoration.
I was gonna say, just getting it out would be
It's not easy.
difficult. Yeah.
No. So that's where it stands at the moment.
Stephanie, did you have anything for me? We're good. Okay, anyone else? We're all set? All right, thank you for all that information. It's very, very helpful. Number 8 is our updated debt and borrowing schedule.
So as we
Which-
talked about at our last meeting, we did close on our last loan on the 20th. That was the
Yay.
$988,000 that Trustee McAuliffe has been asking about.
That's
I'll put
right.
that in a nice way for multiple meetings. So it has sold and proceeds are in our account. The ACH came through, so it
Wow.
actually did happen. It showed up in the bank account. So as a secondary sort of point of interest back to this board, what we did is, and again, I appreciate Cynthia was very helpful in working through all of the updates. So as you recall, and Jiggs is more familiar with this than the rest of the board, so I'm going to take a minute and walk through some of this. Some of our previous loans had negative interest, so they were recorded with a certain principal, and then we were getting negative interest credits, and then that would impact how much we actually owed on our debt schedule. All of those negative interest loans were refinanced and then reset as traditional 30-year fixed loans. So that is now reflective in this current payment schedule. Secondly, we went through all of the current loan balances with the bond bank to make sure that we had on our books the same balance that they had on their books, so that we were in agreement with the number of loans, where we stood with principal and interest, and where we stood on the schedule. So that's also been updated. And then the last piece was this piece that we just talked about, which is the 2019 USDA bond, which was still a point of contention up till last week, that has been the final piece. We also did get some additional grant funds, which were part of that project that aren't reflected obviously in the debt schedule, but will be reflected when we do your next budget status reports. You'll see that now in our water and sewer funds. So with all that as a sort of introduction, if you look at, you'll see we worked out the current year principal and interest payments, and then you'll see that broken out for both water and sewer. You'll see a slight increase next year to 536 on the sewer side, and the reason being is now we have the new payment schedule on our 30-year bond for the 988, so that's why that number raises. And then you'll see in the fiscal year 24, the principal and interest goes up to 551. So we now have, and then you can see based on where we are with water, you'll see this year is dramatically impacted by the refunding and refinancing of the negative interest bonds. So you'll see that payment for this current year is 182,000. Then as we get into the traditional schedule for repayment, you'll see it's 269,788 going forward. So with that as a base, we'll be able to now give you in our two things. First of all, it will give me a solid financial base as we talk about rates and how we are going to discuss whether or not we need increases. That will now, you'll have some surety that the numbers on your debt are correct. And then secondarily, it'll obviously impact our budget conversations when we get into our budget, because we now have a secure and real number that we can work on in terms of what our payables are for that portion of your budget. So long-winded explanation, took a tremendous amount of work. I know it's been a source of frustration with the board, but I think at the end of the day now we are at a good point to build off of this information and feel confident that when we talk about our performance of our two water and sewer funds, and then ultimately our request to taxpayers for our budget, that we're working from a sound foundation.
Anything further? Yeah.
Most of the bonds that we deal with are 30-year bonds. I have seen some now issued at 40-year. We don't have any 40-year at the moment, but I have seen some out in the market for 40-year.
They're usually 30.
Most of ours are 30-year. So.
Any other questions or comments?
No, just, a lot of work has gone into this. Cynthia and Scott are to be congratulated for this. And it turned out as I think we feared, that the negative interest all benefited the water
Right.
funds.
You can see that's a dramatic difference.
And so we have a dramatic difference between the debt service of the water fund versus the sewer fund, which complicates future expenditures. And of course we've got the sludge dryer
Correct.
issue. That's why I've been asking if we can get financing.
Yeah,
If the manufacturer would give us financing, that would allow us to, not borrow,
Right.
and just, have a fixed
ongoing,
amount.
Yeah.
right,
on-
it'd be almost
in
an
our-
operating
in our budget.
expense at
So,
that point.
that would be very helpful, but
Good.
anyway, we do, we needed this badly, and now we have it.
Yes, great job. I mean, sticking with it. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
It took a while,
Yeah.
but
All right, our last item on the agenda is the pump track facilities approvals.
so Gary has been working with some local businesses and also with some grants to improve the area around the pump track since, I don't know, Gary, you want to come up and just discuss the pump track, what the specifics are in your memo, and just any other embellishment you might want to give to the board?
Who's got a mic for you?
The pump track was, construction on the track itself was completed in August and has been getting a lot of use. Ryan reports daily use by a lot of kids that use the rec area for multiple activities. And the Rotary has offered some benches. Basically, you can have, probably it's better to not have more than two bicycles in the pump track at a time. So having a bench and a bike rack up there for friends, family, or the kids riding to sit on and watch the bikes that are in the pump track and then ride. And the bike project, which the Bellows Falls Community Bike Project and the Windham County Trails Alliance were two of the major players in getting the pump track proposal together, and are users of it and their organizations as well. Windham County Trails Alliance was the organization signed on for maintenance of the pump track ongoing, which was a requirement of the grant funds. Community Bike Project is committed to programming for our youth with the pump track. And one of the, so that's another piece that was a commitment in the grant, was that the behavioral youth risk survey that the schools have show the highest incidence for our children of engaging in risky behavior happens between middle school and high school. The last year of middle school and the first 2 years in high school. And the other thing that the risk survey has is types of activities that mitigate that risky behavior. What are the positive activities that they engage in? And for the highest percentage of activities in our youth was outdoor activities, and it varied from 5 to 7 days that they looked towards that. So that was the other thing that the state was really looking to pump up health in all of the grants they were giving to help our communities become more healthy. And so the bike project is fixing up a bunch of BMX bikes, which are tailored specifically for using in pump tracks, and working with the high school and a community service person to service the program and have some bikes available at the pump track for use. And so we're looking to put a garden shed right near where the community gardens garden shed is, except a little bit downhill from there. Ryan indicated that that top corner spot is where the skiers come through and use that to get back to the parking lot during the winter. But at any rate, it's a good spot in terms of the way the field is laid out and visibility and the aesthetics of having sheds on the hill there. It's grouped together with the other shed, and so the commitment from the town to the village is that anytime we're going to put any structure, do any work on your land that's leased to the town for the rec area, that we will let you know about it, see if there's any concerns or conditions you have, and get your agreement in writing to do anything like that. So that's what this request is for.
Gary, I had a question on the motion. Maybe this isn't what you want from us, but it says authorize the municipal manager to sign a written notice consenting to addition of 2 benches donated by the Rotary, okay, and an 8 by 12 garden shed to the pump track at the Rockingham Rep. Now, who's going to provide the 8x12 garden shed?
Right.
So that's part of the grant.
Oh, so the grant will pay for the
Yes.
Yeah,
shed.
we're not asking for any consideration. We just want approval for the physical improvements.
Okay.
But the town isn't going to have to pay for that shed. It's
No.
coming from the grant.
The only thing that the town will pay for is probably a little bit of concrete to do the base
Do a pad.
for the,
Right.
for the 2 benches and maybe a pad for the shed.
Who's building the shed, just out of curiosity? Because we don't know, we
Um,
don't have a picture of it, so we don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, what
So
Don't mention 66.
What? Got some timber from there?
so we can include that. We basically have requests out for a few different quotes, and it'll be something that it's small. It'll
Yeah.
be it'll fit the landscape and be aesthetically pleasing. Basically, there's no money attaching to the motion, and that's a good
Right.
point, Jigs. I should have left off the rotary piece. That's not important. What we're really asking for is your authorization to put the structures on your land at the rec
The
area.
benches in the shed.
The benches in
Yeah,
the shed.
right,
That's
exactly.
the request. So
Right.
sorry for the extra verbiage there.
No, that's.
Looking at- yeah.
that was helpful.
And thank you for the clarification. Yeah.
So who will own the shed and the bikes and the benches?
It's a grant to the town, and so
Okay.
it'll,
Be the
yeah,
town.
yeah, be town-owned, facilities.
Would anyone like to make that motion? Yep.
Based on our current insurance, any activity at that recreation field is covered as a general liability under that general liability umbrella. So we have the same liability if somebody brings their own bike and goes careening off the pump track like Gary did, or or they borrow a bike and go
Not to do.
careening off the pump track. Hopefully, like Gary won't.
Yeah, all
So-
healed now, yeah.
So I guess the short answer is we're covered.
We could put the motion out there for discussion if there's any further discussion, but I need someone to make the motion.
I'll make the motion
Okay.
to authorize the municipal manager to sign a written notice consenting to the addition of 2 benches and an 8x12 garden shed to the pump track at the Rockingham Rec area between the community garden and the baseball field.
Seconded.
And second. Okay. Any further discussion on this motion? Hear nothing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? None. Okay, you have that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Gary. All right, we will, next item is to review the agenda items for the next meeting. We already have some things that we'll be probably talking about.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
you
Yes?
might want to mention that redistricting thing. I don't think
Yes,
we can,
yeah.
it's not
We-
been warned.
No, we can't. No, we won't be doing that, but we will, well, we can mention this also in other business, but we could bring up what kind of results came back, have been sent off to the state.
And we could weigh in on the.
Yeah,
on our
exactly.
next meeting.
But our
to-
next meeting's not till November 9th.
Yeah.
We can still talk about it, but we'll probably have gotten all of our comments back. What will happen is there's a redistricting, all the trustees will get access to the document that's being proposed to send, an opportunity to comment on the criteria, how we feel about it. What they're basically doing is moving us, if you've seen that, right? Have you all seen it? I'm sure you probably would. But redistricting us, so there'd be like 1 representative per 4,200 and some odd people. So there are a couple of different proposals that they have sent to us. One of them is definitely less favorable than the other. The BCA met this evening at 5 o'clock, making a decision to move forward, and we'll all have an opportunity to weigh in as well. So although the trustees can't vote on it because it was a BCA item which includes the town, we can make comments if we have further input. They would like to see that. So I'll be if they send it to me, I'll forward it up to you guys. And we have until, let's see, we have to get comments back by it has to go out by the 15th, but we have to
Oh.
get it back to them by the 3rd of November,
Okay.
Right.
which is next week. And then we may have another opportunity for additional further comment till the 10th of November, but you'll see in emails. It's just an opportunity to look at it. There'll be a bunch of information. There's a bunch of maps. You guys can have these too. But if you'd like, That'll all be available. So that's a redistricting thing, and we can talk about it on our agenda item for the November 9th. Further things we have to put on that one? Do you have?
No, we'll
Scott?
have the dryer on again.
Yep.
We'll have an updated budget status report and updated financials based on, I think now, all of these items that, the grants we've received.
Right.
The finalization of all those. So that'll be on. I don't think there was anything else time sensitive. I think everything else grant related.
What did you decide to do about the propane bids? How's that working?
I'll have to have that on for the 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, it's already been pointed out that apparently the heat will not be turned on here till December 15th, so we can talk about it again.
No, the
9th.
heat will be on. The heat will be on this week.
It'll be colder next time.
We played a game with how far can we go, and I think we went
I'm
just about as far as we could go.
I'm just kidding. I haven't turned the heat on in my house, my portion of the house at all yet.
It's
We're really
cold.
frugal, and we just sweater up. So
We've been doing that this week, but it's not going to get warm now, so
Yeah.
I'm out of options here.
yeah, you're running out of
Yeah.
options. That's right.
It's gonna go.
So, and anything further you guys are interested in, just let me know, or Scott know, so we're building the next agenda. Reviewing agenda items for the next joint board meeting, which is scheduled for November 30th. And I'm sure we'll have a few things on there.
Well, two that we've already discussed. I know we're going to revisit our past due accounts
Yep.
for tax sale purpose.
Yep,
With the caveat of this new state program, which they're still getting details on about the state offering potential payments for people in arrears, which is something new.
oh, yeah.
It's so we'll have more detail on that. And then I think the second item that we're going to discuss was potential of looking at another cannabis resolution for both town meetings and village meetings for the spring.
Okay.
I read that some of the criteria or some of the thoughts around the, for people getting caught up, et cetera. I think it was up to $10,000, and it looks like it covered water, sewer, back taxes, and
It was
utilities.
pretty extensive.
Wow.
And there's a website, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to get information to people. I think what we might do is do a mailing to everybody who is current past due on their taxes. We've been working with people under the other program for utilities for a while now, but
Right.
this is a new program. So, and
Yep.
individuals can go out and based on, they can go out with their information, and then they can go through like almost a pre-qualification kind of to see if they might even be eligible
Yeah.
prior to. So
Yeah,
I think we're going to try to send that out to people and give them, another opportunity before we get to it. Obviously, we'll have plenty of time after the 30th, if we decide to go to tax sale, to make sure that they have every opportunity.
opportunity to catch up if they
Correct.
can, no matter by whatever means possible.
Correct.
There was something, when in November would we be talking about North Westminster? How was that moving
Second
forward?
meeting.
Second meeting, okay, all right, so not this one.
Still working on some stuff in the field with that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Do we have any orders, bills, and warrants? Did you bring anything?
I think I do. So
Well, I guess it'll be at the next meeting.
I didn't grab them
'Cause
because
they're
I
not
got tied up in BCA.
So there'll be a pile by the time we get at them.
My bad. I apologize.
Okay,
I got
so-
tied up in the BCA maps and
Okay, so that'll be next meeting. Okay.
yes.
Okay. Other business, we move on to that. Scott,
Nothing else. No.
Wade,
No, I'm all set.
Jigs,
All set.
okay. Jeff, Stefan,
Yeah, just some thoughts on, although I like to be conservative, some thoughts on this extra or COVID money funds. My thoughts would be to maybe improve lighting down here in this room.
Hmm.
that's always a conversation. It comes
Always
up
a
every couple of
conversation, even
years.
though it's more of a town issue, but it's a
I
shared
know.
issue. And then maybe some of the stuff that you've talked about on the initiative of maybe solar panels on
Yep.
village buildings. You can, I was reading in a paper up north here in Lebanon area about Hanover, what
Mhm.
they've done with the solar reference their electricity bills.
Mm-hmm.
So just a thought.
Right.
Yep.
Well, we're going to talk about ARPA as we go forward because, we don't have to start spending the money until 2024, and you don't have to have all of your funds expended until 2026.
Really?
Okay.
So they've extended out those deadlines.
Yeah.
I know. So we have a window to do some things,
Do
but I
some,
think it's important to
good
start that
improvements, yeah.
conversation and see where the moment the funds are segmented so we can keep them and make sure that we're, having a full discussion.
all right. The only thing I had is that we've had a long conversation earlier this morning concerning school safety, and that's a smaller and a larger picture, all that going on. That being said, and it's a very busy, remember Atkinson Street is a state route, folks, and please slow down as you're going through the zone and dealing with our school children, especially in the morning and in the afternoon. I know everyone's in a busy hurry to get through the zone, but there are stop signs there, and you have small children who you might not be able to see over the hood of your truck. And the Sundays, and especially, yes, thank you for reminding me. Oh, yes, the chili cheddar cook-off is 11 to 3 p.m. on Saturday to get warmed up for Halloween, which there'll also be some trick-or-treating in the square, but there'll be Halloween on Sunday, and you want to be careful as it's getting dark very early, especially with the bad weather we've had lately.
So the cook-off is Saturday.
It's Saturday, starting at the Flatiron Building where you pick up I think it's $5 and you pay, so you can, and they give you like a spoon. You can go around getting samples all over through the merchants in the village. They'll give you a list too, and also where to check off your favorites, and you return them back to the Flatiron by 3 o'clock, so they can make a determination on who the winners are. And by the way, there'll be 3 selections at my office. Just so you know. But it'll probably be cold, and it'll be nice to have something hot
Nice
to
and
eat.
hot, yeah.
Yeah, lots of samples. Usually the cups are like about this big. Yeah. But it's fun, and it's a fundraiser for the organization, for the chamber. And, yeah, bring your own bowl. Right, exactly. Yeah, bring your own bowl. Yeah, no, I'm not really advocating that. But it'll be fun, and trick or treating will be probably cold and dark, so yeah, be careful of the driving.
Maybe damp also.
When you're driving. What's that?
Maybe damp.
Maybe damp. Yeah, maybe damp. All right, I think that is everything. We have no need for an executive session. I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, aye. Stay safe and warm. Thank you, folks.